So it says I'm live, but am I Memorex? So hopefully you all got the message. I did say 7-ish, which means some of you might be pouring in later as we go. I'm just going to sit here and just sort of rant incessantly until somebody shows up. I believe Tom just got my message that I'm going live, so hopefully he'll show up very, very soon. Oh, the Dow's up. I thought someone was signing in, but no, I was just getting a little message in the corner about the Dow Jones. All my stocks are doing well. Pity I have no stocks to broke. Anyway, we're going to continue here, just sort of looking at the time. What is it, 7:02 now? I did get some feedback from you folks saying that you saw that I was actually doing an early show today, so hopefully a few of you pop in. If not, I'll feel quite the fool. So let's see, what can we talk about while we wait? Perhaps another ghost story? Here's a good one. This one I heard years ago. I was actually living in a boarding house when I was in college. It was out in Western Massachusetts. A young man who was trying to make it in the local Cape Cod police force had taken a job as a summer constable. Was doing a patrol one night. Noticed on one of the very poorly lit back roads in a wooded area, he saw this big, in a tree, big, beautiful owl, and he stopped to look at it. When he got out of his car to take a look-see at it, it went flew into the woods about 50 feet away. So he followed it, and just as he got up to it again, it flew into the woods still further. It happened again. It happened 3 times, actually, and on the 3rd time, as he's walking up to the owl, he goes, what am I doing? I'm following an owl into the woods when I should be on patrol. This is silly. He went back to his car, finished patrol, and went to report to the station the next day. Well, in the morning's report, they had a report of a young lady who very, very sadly had overdosed on drugs and had died in that wood. Now, here's the part where things get a little creepy. The young lady had actually died within 500 yards of where this patrolman had been standing. And by his calculations, it was a direct route from where he had been standing to this girl that the owl was taking him on. That is to say, had he kept going, he would have gone right to the spot. Was the ghost of this girl the form of the owl? Was the owl some type of harbinger and trying to lead him to the girl in distress? Perhaps we'll never know. But that story was told to me firsthand about 30 plus years ago, and I've always kept it with me. Now, I see a few people have actually made it into the chat, so this is the point where I'm going to start saying my hellos. Tell me what you think of that ghost story, by the way, while we're at it. And happy Halloween to us all. Big Guys 45 says first, Big Guys, did you get my question, by the way? Loved the Pink Lady rendition of Walk Away Renee. I actually like it better than Left Banks. The Four Tops is probably my favorite, I must admit. But didn't Bill Weathers do a version of that song? You guys know Bill Weathers. He did Ain't No Sunshine When She Gone. Tom, I'm sure you know who Bill Weathers is. Speaking of which, Tom Hungerjerk is here. He says, hey, I'm here. He goes on to say, if you didn't call, I would have missed your stream. Oh, I'm so glad you got my text then, by the way. Yeah, actually, I checked messages just before I hopped on. So I'm glad I touched base with you. And again, I promise you, things have just been crazy, but I'll try to give you a call this weekend. I'm guessing Sundays are still good for you? I'll try to give you a call this weekend. Sarita Abney says, hi, Thrash, or hey, Thrash. Hey there, hi there, ho there. Darrell Johnson says, UB, which of course is Uncle Bob. DJ, good to see you. Good. He says yes. Good. Hold tight. SJ Manola is in the house, says hello. SJ, so good to see you. So far, looks like we're just chatting about cool ghost stories in the spirit of Halloween, but we'll see how long that takes us. Don't know if you got the whole message, by the way, but here's the situation. That fat samurai guy is doing one of his versus shows tonight. We're going to be comparing Mario Bava's Black Sabbath with Dario Argento's Suspiria. I have to ditch a little before 9 o'clock. That's why I came on early tonight. So we will have some show, but if I have to like bail when things are just getting good, please bear with me. A lot of people having fellowship. So a lot of people saying hello to everybody. Yes, hello, 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 hello. Tom Lindrick says, welcome, the more the better. Yes, indeed, I couldn't have agreed more myself. Oh, by the way, Miss Emily Miller asked me if I could give out my email address. I actually, for you guys, just seen, I posted an email address in my channel. If you go to About at the end of my channel page, and then go to View Email Address, it will show you an email you can contact me at. And I check that daily, multiple times daily. The Golden Age of TV says, Brother Bob, ghost story coming soon from me. My channel, nice shirt. You like that? It was a gift from a very dear friend. Speaking of phone calls, I got your phone call earlier today, by the way. Wicked sorry I didn't get back to you. I was getting ready for tonight's shows, and it just got away from me. But while we're on the subject, Pat, Dave, and I are going to be joining Barry on BK on the Air, and we're going to be talking about retro milestones. I have a couple in mind, but Pat, I will call you before then so we can touch base to make sure we're all on the same page. And I am so looking forward to your ghost story, my friend. So looking forward to meeting up with you and Dave and BK on the upcoming podcast. SJ says, hi, Daryl, going to see Halloween Ends this week. Let me know what you think. Big Guns 45 says, we need, I'm guessing there's a D in there, need to get Thrash to at least 1,000 subs by the end of the year. Hey, I am this close to 200. I'll take 200 for this week. But yes, 1,000 by the end of the year would be so nice. Let's just see. The Golden Age of TV, Pat says, cool. We are going to rock it next Thursday. We certainly are. Oh, and Tom the Hungry Jerk says, I'm wearing my retro TV shirt too. He has the exact same shirt I do, although I think he's probably a size smaller. Mike Silva says, hi guys, watching Tubi TV for Captain Zero. I was just watching TV today, actually. I hadn't seen Suspiria in ages, so I watched it today just so I can actually go into that Fat Samurai Guy's show knowing what I'm talking about. Superplex says, good evening. Superplex in the house. So good to see you. I had a question for you, by the way, and it's completely slipped my mind. If I think of it, I might just shout it out over the course of our chat tonight. Mike Silver says, Dr. Claw, I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time. MAD cat. Meow. Tom says, I'm a 2X. Yeah, this one's a 3X. Lance Chafin in the house says, hiya, Thrash. Lance, how you doing, man? Great to have you back as always. Oh, and for speaking which, for you guys who we've only been going for a few minutes, but so far we're just talking about cool Halloween themes and our favorite Halloween stories and that type of thing for just now. Let's just see what else we got going on here. Oddly enough, I'm staying caught up so far. Daryl Johnson says, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe as well. Mike Silva says, ever seen Space Patrol? Yes, in fact, I was just watching Space Patrol not too long ago. Ghosts of Neptune, Phantoms of Neptune, something about Neptune. It was in my my algorithm, and I just started watching it. It's a cool show. Ken Wilkinson in the house says, "Hi, Thrash Ken. How you doing? Always great to have you." The Golden Rage of TV says, "Would you believe I wear a medium?" Yes, I would. You're very, very thin. You're taller than me. You're mad tall, but you're quite a thin person. So I certainly believe you could get away with a medium. I haven't been able to get away with a medium since I was in middle school. Tom Laramie says, "Hello, Thrash. Hi, everyone." Tom Laramie, great to see you as well, by the way. Mike Silva says, "Mine is the classic film, The Exorcist." I was just thinking about The Exorcist tonight when I was watching Suspiria. Suspiria is part of that whole wave of sort of demonic, occult, devil worshipping, if you will, horror films that were so popular in the 70s. And does anybody remember the commercial? Roses are red, violets are blue, iris is the flower that's the end of you. It's on YouTube. Check it out. It used to scare the Bee Gees out of me when I was a kid. I think I actually, Lance Chafin says, "I have my shirt on right now." He's wearing his Golden Rage shirt as well. That's awesome sauce. We should make it a habit. Daryl Johnson says The Exorcist is a classic movie. It really, really is. I actually met her at a autograph signing and a convention I was doing in Minneapolis, Minnesota, back around 2000 for the company I was working for, Suncoast Video. She's actually a really, really cool and approachable person. But yeah, The Exorcist is an amazing movie. Mike Silva says, "Great movie, Oons." Oons? Great movie, Oons. You mean great movie, Toons? By Daniel Coons. Joe Johnson says, "The man that makes me feel freaking old." How do you think I feel? Mike Silva says, "Mean pawns." You think I'm mean? I think I'm quite approachable. Thank you, Mike. Let's just see what else we got here. Pat says, "I like that habit, like a rabbit." Tom Hungerdrick says, "Pat, that was a joke. Pat gave me one. He's a nice guy." Pat is a very, very nice guy. Mike Silva says, "Interesting pawns." Oh, so went from being mean to interesting. Mike Silva goes on to say, "Now I am watching Tubi for the Return of the Living Dead." I actually have a copy of that on videotape. Mike and others, but I'm going to address this to Mike because he's watching Return of the Living Dead. Now, what do you think of the theory that Ernie Colton Brewer, the funeral parlor director from next door, that he is a former Nazi? What do you think of that theorem? I have some evidences that support that fact, but let me know what you think first. Tom Laramie says, "Was the chat supposed to be?" Oh, I'm sorry, was to start at 8. It just jumped up while I was trying to read it. Long story short, here's what happened. Our friend, That Fat Samurai Guy, is doing a show tonight at 9. We're doing a versus. Mario Bava's The Black Sabbath versus Dario Argento's Suspiria. And he had to do it at 9. So rather than cut my show real short tonight, I started early. Because what won't I do for my people? So, yes, for those of you who are a little bit late because you didn't know that, and for those of you who show up at 8, I'll be sure to remind me to reiterate that. But yeah, I didn't want to lose too much of the show tonight. Superlick says, "Just she can't spin her head through 60 degrees. Bummer. No, she can't, I'm afraid." Lance Chapin says, "I watched the movie Ticks." Why am I not familiar with Ticks? I saw the movie Squirm when I was a kid, but not Ticks. Let me know what the premise is. Daryl Johnson says, "I saw The Exorcist in the theater when it came out. In fact, I skipped class to go see it." I didn't get a chance to see The Exorcist until I was in high school, which would have been about 10 years later. Pat the Golden Rage says, "Saw the Corman film Haunted Palace with Vincent Price and Lon Chaney Jr. the other night. It was great for the low budget, but Corman could easily do that. Yeah, Corman was known for making uh, silk purses out of no budget whatsoever. He was actually astounding at that. But yeah, A Haunted Palace is a great film. The Little Ridge of TV says, "Yes, Tom, I know you joker." Mike Silva says, "Daryl, I'm going to have nightmares tonight." Yes, are we all? Tom Laramie says, "That's understandable." Pat says, "The Exorcist messed me up for a good 2 years." Oh, John Doe in the house. Hey, John, and he's everyone. Yes, I know. To you. Daryl Jones says, "The part of the movie that I found disturbing was when they quickly flashed the demon face. That unnerved me." And like I said, I saw it when I was in high school. Uh, I think we were like doing like a yearbook or a school paper meeting at somebody's house. Actually, ironically, down the street from where I live now, and we just happened to put it on, and I did not see that coming. That subliminal demon face, and that like freaked us out. Like all the girls in the room screamed. I kind of jumped a good 2 feet. Yeah, you can actually find that right here on YouTube. It's actually a pretty creepy face. Let's just see. Mike Silva says, "If you want a disturbing movie, watch Last House on the Left from the 1970s." That was Wes Craven, I believe, and that is a very disturbing movie. And it's actually based on a Swedish film with Max von Sydow from the Middle Ages. Apparently, it was loosely based on an old Swedish legend where a farmer permits a couple of migrant workers to work on his farm, and well, I don't want to give too much of it away, but it's essentially the same storyline. But yes, Last House on the Left was a very, very sad, scary, messed up film. And if you listen to the song at the end, that sort of little rockabilly theme song at the end, it actually takes you through all the events of the film if you listen to the words. Zuplik says Corman produced 100 bad movies for every one of his classics. I think his bad movies were his classics. Lance Javen says, "Hey, Thrash, watch Terror in the Slid." You mean Terror in the Isles? I've seen Terror in the Isles. I'll have to look up Terror in the Slid. Spell check, why have you abandoned us? Serena Abney says, "Exorcism was the first horror movie I seen." The first one? Wow. Pat says, "The uncut version is quite gnarly. I can only imagine." Mike Silva says, "Zuper, not really. He made a lot of great B movies." He did make a lot of great movies, but his bad movies were, I think, the most fun. Lance Javen says, "Thrash, watch Terror in the Isles. It's pretty good." I have seen that. It's almost like a documentary, and yes, it's very good. Tom Henry says, "Corman also produced or directed The Intruder with William Shatner. There's a bell ringing in my head." I believe you're right. So Blake says, "Mike, you haven't seen his catalog." Trust me, I have. I own a lot of them. Serena Abney says, "I couldn't sleep after seeing it." I can see that. I can see that. Mike Silva says, "Hungry, watch Cannibal Holocaust." That film goes a little far. I have a copy somewhere, but yeah, that film goes a little far. John Doe says, "I watched The Exorcist by myself when I was 7 in the dark. Never been scared again." No, you're scared still. Tom says, "Mike, I've seen it. It is disturbing. It sure is." Pat says, "Still one of my favorite must-see Halloween flicks is The Legend of Hell House with Roddy McDowell." Great movie. I remember I watched that. My cousins actually were watching it, and my aunt walked in on them and didn't like them watching movies like that. That was a little intense even for them. And not only could they not watch TV for the rest of the night, but she actually called the network and complained about them showing naughty movies. I liked it. I liked it myself, actually. The Golden Ridge of TV says Richard Matheson. He wrote the screenplay of the story it was based on, but yes, he was involved in Hell House. BK on the air in the house. BK, how you doing? I am frantically compiling little tids and or bits for the upcoming podcast we have with you next Thursday. I am with bated breath. Putting that aside, I'm going to read your statement. Vicky on there says, The Wicker Man 74, loved it. Starring Edward Equalizer Woodward. It's an absolutely amazing movie. It's considered to be the Citizen Kane of horror. Rightfully so. Loved it. Absolutely, absolutely loved it. Couldn't stand the remake with Nicolas Cage. Literally couldn't stand the remake with Nicolas Cage. It's like, how can you get a remake that wrong? I mean, for crying out loud. Tom Duncan Jerk says, I also like William Castle movies. William Castle was amazing. He did some great movies as well, by the way. There's a movie that's actually loosely based on his exploits with John Goodman. Zublik says, Mike, Corman took Soviet films and translated them into schlocky English versions. That's how far down to the bottom of the barrel he went. Well, he usually just didn't try to get the special effects because Soviet films had state-sponsored special effects budgets, which tended to be higher than B-movie budgets. That's how he was able to make things like Queen of Blood and others, but I like them. BK on the years, Wicker Man 73, year correction. 73, 74, early-ish 70s. Tom Nuggendrick says, my Halloween movie is The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. Not only did I see that when I was a kid on those like afternoon matinee movies, my school, as a little Halloween treat, had an after-school movie party. You could go down to the gym and watch The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, and then your parents pitch you up around 5-ish. That was a little Halloween treat one Halloween year, and I love The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. And it actually holds up as a horror film, even though it's a comedy, but I thought it was very well put together. BK on the news says, hey, Golden Age of TV, Pat. Hey, everybody, and hey to you, by the way. Oh, and of course, you know where this is going. I'm glad you mentioned this, BK. For Pat, the Golden Age of TV, for BK on the air, and for many of my other friends who hopefully will be joining very, very soon. If you haven't subscribed to their stations, please do. They're putting out some excellent material, all on my favorite topic, nostalgia, and I guarantee you guys will love it. Now, of course, I'm sure if you're here, odds are you've been there too. But I just feel like I always want to read that to the record. It's like the Romans with Carthage must be destroyed. And it was. Mike Silva says, cards from Gabbage. That's all, folks. Cards from Garbage Pail Kids. A friend of mine used to collect those. I think I have a couple somewhere. It just did that jump thing, so I'm going to try to catch up. Pat says, screenplay and The Pit and the Pendulum. I love The Pit and the Pendulum. I really did. It had nothing to do with the source material, but I love it. Lance Chafin, the bees, not the bees, not the bees. Zuplik says, hello, BK, burgers, shakes, and fries, please. Very good. Daryl Johnson says, my girlfriend likes The Ghost and Mr. Chickson. I thought it was a great movie. Tom says, BK, Britt Eklund dancing, best scene in the movie. It sure was. A very well put together young lady. And you know, she can be my mother. John Doe says, hey, Thrash, wanted to let you know I'm back in my apartment with full electricity and gas, and all repairs are done. He had a fire a few weeks ago. John, we are so happy for you. Excellent. Pat says, guys, you have to catch BK's annual Halloween broadcast, 2 midnight Eastern Standard. Bart. Right, Bart. Right, Bart? As opposed to Breitbart. Lance Griffin says, matinee Thrash. Yes, that was the movie, Matinee. Thank you. I just saw it, actually, well, a few months ago, but it's good. Tom Army says, some movies shouldn't be redone. Amen, brother. Oh, Golden Rage, 9 to midnight. There you go. That makes a little more sense. Zuplik says, did you know William Castle produced Rosemary's Baby? I did not know that. Mike Silva says, Star Crash, fun movie. It certainly was. Zuplik says, Corman went so far down the barrel, he produced grindhouse biker films and cheap, forgettable westerns with Jack Nicholson. I like Jack Nicholson. Tom Murray says, I don't know. I just lost it. Off topic. Little Stevie Wonder was in Muscle Beach Party. We were just talking about Little Stevie Wonder the other day, and yes, he one of his first appearances was on a beach movie. Tom Hungry Jerk says, "I collect wacky packages." Yeah, that's where the Hungry Jerk comes from instead of Hungry Jack. I collect them too. BK on the air says, "Cage Wicker Man remake was cow dung." Agree 100%. Some of the original production crew did a sequel called The Wicker Tree 2011. Not good at all. Very disappointing. Ugh. Such a heartbreaker. Max Schilder says, "Has anyone seen Nosferatu, the miniseries or the German expressionist film?" Yes, in both cases. Ken Wilkinson says, "Great Halloween movie is The Raven with Bela Lugosi." Raven with Bela Lugosi. I remember the one with Vincent Price, but I've probably seen it. Tracy Rob Myers in the house. Hi, Rob. Tracy, great to see you as well. Emily Miller. Hey, y'all. Sorry I'm late. Emily Miller, no problem whatsoever. Did you find the email address? If not, no worries. I'll get it to you. Daryl Johnson says the House of Dracula was good. Zuplik says burning victims to death is the epitome of heartless sadism. Yes, it is. Mike Soda says Kenneth, Night of the Demons. Love Night of the Demons. BK on there says, "I was a little sad to find out Brett Eklund used a body double for the new dancing scenes, but not for the frontal shots." That's strange. Yeah, I did not know that myself, actually. Tom the Hungry Jerk says, L Retro Fan Magazine latest issue does a huge story on the beach movies. Really? Pat says message retracted, and a message retracted to you too, Pat. Zublik says, "Let's keep on messaging for T-Pawns gets backed up again." I'm almost caught up. Mike Silva says 1922 version Pawns. Yes, I just saw that with the Unapologetic Geek on one of his watch-alongs. His public domain theater. Mike Silva says Super Little Shop of Horrors from 1960 is a classic. It sure is. Pat says all Hammer films rock. They sure do. Daryl Johnson says Nude Vampires, Life Force. I loved Life Force. I thought Life Force was a great movie. In a weird schlocky kind of way. It kind of reminded me of 5 Million Years to Earth. One of those English, what were those called? You know what I'm talking about. BK on the air says the 1922 Nosferatu is a silent, scary masterpiece. How fortunate we were that all prints were not destroyed as they were ordered to do at the time. Lawsuit from Bram Stoker's wife. Yeah, I know. I forgot how they got around that. There was a trick. I guess it didn't count the ones they'd already sold, and then afterwards they went and bought some back. Or so I forget. There's a whole story behind that. John Doe says Kolchak was a really good show. Caught the reruns of that show. Yeah, it was on Sci-Fi Channel for years ago. Mike Silva says Super Death Wraith 2000. Tom the Jerk says Daryl, I love nude vampires. Cherry Throws Myers says it's going, Lance. How are you? Oh, sorry. How's it going? Now I'm with you. Zublik says Matilda May totally naked throughout the movie. She was actually, now that you mention it. Tom the Golden Rage of Pat. The Golden Rage of TV says, "Who remembers the horror of Party Beach? Was that the one that was made in Connecticut? And the monsters look like big frogs with like pickles coming out of their mouth. I believe I do remember that. But yeah, it was of all places, it was filmed in Connecticut. And the short, dark-haired girl reminded me of a girl I dated in college. Although again, could have been my mother. Daryl Johnson. Then they put clothes on her at the end. Did they? Tom Mermy says Abbott Costello meets Frankenstein is good. Horrors film for those that like a little humor with horror. Who doesn't? Lance Craven says, "Don't forget to hit that like button, folks. Thank you." Trey the Rosemeyer says, "I love those cheesy beach movies. Who doesn't? Those were so much fun." Dickie on the says Gold Ridge of TV, Thrash, and D. Sunstrom. We plan a Hammer horror live chat in the future. Oh, should we plan? We definitely, absolutely, positively should. And I am all about it. Daily Dan's the good stuff. Greetings, and you know who you are. Dan, so great to have you. He's been putting up some great stuff lately, by the way. Check him out. Dan's give a link to all appropriate channels. But he's been putting out some absolutely amazing stuff. As late, Mike Silva says the Green Slime movie. Remember, I was just talking about that. I did a creepy classic on the theme song, which is probably the most kick-ass theme song 20 low budget sci-fi movie. Emily Merrill says I'm watching 1983's The Twilight Zone movie. I actually like that. It wasn't phenomenal, but I thought it was good. Mike Silva says Barbarella. I like Barbarella as well, considering who stars in it. Tom Nuggy Jerk says Horror at Party Beach was the first creature features movie. I did not know that. That is such a cool fun fact. I did not know that. John Doe says all those Abbott and Costello meets the Universal monsters were awesome. They certainly were. Zublik says, did Corbin make Barbarella? No, I believe it was a European production. Pat says, everybody do the zombie stomp. It's the living end. But a bump. Mike Silva says, Super, no, Paramount Pictures did. There we go. Tom Duke says Barbarella was Italian, I think. I thought it was French, but it could have been Italian or a co-production. Lance Chafin says salutations, and the salutations to you as well. Emily Miller says a bit shocked at some of the language in one part. I haven't seen it since it came out, and whoa. Pat says that Godzilla versus Bambi. I love that. I saw that on Night Flight like 40 years ago. Mike Silva says Dark Star movie. John Carpenter's student film. Beacon on the Air says Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, Vincent Price, my classic horror trio. All amazing in their own right. All amazing. You'd have to throw Boris Karloff into the mix. How can you have a horror anthology and not include a little Boris? And that's the best I can do on a Boris Karloff impression on such short notice. Lance Chafin says, hey, check out the good bad flicks. It's real fun. Thrash sounds fun. Truth Myers says I like Godzilla versus Mothra. How could you not? Tom Laramie says Pat, would you settle for the Monster Mash? He did the mash. It's now a grave old thrash. Zublik says I think Roger Vadman directed Barbarella. We can't rule it out. Ken Wilkinson says, did you ever see Michael Jackson's Thriller video Thrash? Only about 100,000 times in the 80s. I watched a lot of MTV. Lance Chafin says Godzilla versus Megalon. Lance, the guy who played the Emperor of Zootopia, guy by the name of Robert Dunham, was living like 2 towns away from me when he died. He retired to Cape Cod. Mike Silva says 50s classic movies, them. Oh, I was just talking about them with somebody. Tom Hungry Jerk says Mad Monster Party is a great Reagan Bash special. I have a copy of it somewhere, buried in my vault. Mike Sylvia said the day the earth stood still. Michael Reddy was sick that day. Ozublik says, T-Pawns, what is your opinion on Lon Chaney Jr.? Katrina Longwood said he sucked. Really? I love Lon Chaney Jr. I once saw him walking with the Queen, who now they're both passed on. I always thought he was great. John Doe says John Landis didn't know how Michael Jackson was until he started filming the video for Thriller. Oh, who didn't know who Michael Jackson was? A lot of people having fellowship. Braidwood Inn, Justin in the house. Greetings, Bob. Justin, it's always great to have you. Thank you. Emily Melissa's Pat, that's what I get for trying to eat while I text. Quite all right. Spell check is going to trip you up regardless of what you do. Mike Silva says Black Scorpion movie from the 50s. That's an amazing movie, even considering they ran out of the special effects budget. And that's why a lot of the scenes of the Scorpion are just in silhouette. It was supposed to be animated all the way through, but they just couldn't afford to. So in the long shots, they just left the silhouetted cutout and called it the Black Scorpion. Little fun fact for you there. Trader Meyer says almost time for Santa Claus versus the Martians. Again, I love that movie. Tom Nugget Jerk says Lon Chaney Jr. and Spider Baby, great movie. He sang the theme song to that movie. Did you know that? Tom Emery says Lon Chaney Sr. was the man of 1,000 faces. Is that the name of the movie with you're the guy who killed my brother? Jimmy Cagney, James Cagney. James Cagney played his father who died of a stroke or something. But in the end, he had to use sign to speak. Both Lon Chaney, Creighton Hall was the actual actor's name, Creighton Hall. Creighton Hall Sr., both his parents were profoundly deaf, so he learned to speak in sign language, but he also learned to emote, and that's why he was so great in silent films, because he could convey emotion and feeling in because he had to be very expressive when he talked to his parents. His son, Creighton Hall Jr., better known as Lon Chaney Jr., also learned the art of sign language, and supposedly when Lon Chaney Sr. was dying, they spoke to each other in sign. I'm trying to catch up because while I was pontificating, Zublik says, I understand Lon Chaney Jr. was a terrible alcoholic. Yeah, and he smoked about 6 packs of cigarettes a day. I'm making that up. I don't know how many he smoked, but he smoked huge. And that eventually led to his demise. Mike Silva says, Emily, I'm singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling. I'm happy again. Are you doing the scene from the movie Singing in the Rain or from Clockwork Orange? Let's go with Singing in the Rain. Emily Miller says, sun is down here, but no rain. Thanks for taking away my scapegoat. It's raining like cats and dogs up here on Cape Cod, which is funny. Remember this past summer? We had that really intense drought conditions. We've gotten so much rain this fall. It's crazy. My guess is the water table is still down, but it's filling up rapidly. Serena Abney says, Pat, don't worry about typing. Even if you took lessons, you will still forget. Dilly Dan says, I'm listening, but I feel horrible today. I'm so you still feeling down in the weather, huh, man? I really hope you feel better soon. But I gotta tell you, man, anyone who can be this under the weather and still put up all kinds of quality material, you gotta get a pat on the back from me. Cindy D in the house says, hello, Hungry Jerk. Cindy D, I'm guessing you've been here for some time, but I've been too busy trying to catch up. So Cindy D, hello, welcome. So glad to see you. We're talking about cool horror movies, horror stories, horror specials, anything Halloween related. At least so far. Particularly of the schlocky and vintage variety. Mike Silva says, Manos Hands of Fate. Case in point. Emily Miller says, I can't sing in the rain, Mike, or anything else for that matter. Dilly Dan says, OMG, I'm smoking now, LOL. Yes, but what? Lance Chafin says, hey, Thrash, Tourist Trap with Tanya Roberts and Chuck Connors. I don't know if I've ever seen that one, which is a pity. I like both of them, but I don't know if I've ever seen that one. Serena Abney also asked Dan to feel better. Pat says, the only problem is that Thrash reads verbatim, hence I sound very much like I have a speech impediment. I do try. I try to correct on the fly, but it's easier just to read verbatim, and people just think I'm having a stroke. I smell toast. Man, I shouldn't even kid. Mike Silva says, yes, Pons, I was referencing Singing in the Rain. Good. Tom says Menno's Hands of Fate was filmed by real Satanists. Ooh, what? I thought it was just a what do you call it? A fertilizer salesman from Texas. No reason it can't be both. John Doe says MST3K was a great show to watch for great schlock. Certainly was. And Riff Tracks is great now, too, by the way. Zuplik says, did your home ever get flooded T-ponds? No. This is going to sound silly. I live on an incline, which goes down to that pond that I'm always showing you, Pons' Pond. Because I live on an incline, I actually don't flood. The water just sort of brushes right past me. There's like a little rift, a ridge, and it channels the water down my street. So the water runs down the street and into the pond. So I've actually, knock on Formica, and when while we're at it, I've never flooded. That being said, Mike Silva says hungry MS3. He's asking, I guess, which MS3 episode, MST3K episode was the funniest. I have a weakness for Santa Claus Comes to the Martians, to be honest with you. I just jumped, so I'm going to go back and see if I can catch up. Somebody says, hi, Thrash, hi to you. Skipping down. People still talking about Singing in the Rain. Oh no, Dilly says food poisoning didn't even do a show last night. The videos I put up were already made. Oh, God, I hate food poisoning, by the way. Drink plenty of fluids, and when you feel better, eat live culture yogurt, because when you get food poisoning, it kills the good bacteria in your tummy, which helps you digest, and it'll throw your digestion off forever. So that'll help you back on the mend when you're ready to eat. Don't force yourself to eat until you're ready. Trust me. Lance Chapin says, I've been a little down in the dumps lately. Hope I snap out of it. Lance, I will do whatever I can to snap you out of your down in the dumps. Here, how about this? On the good ship, lollipop, it's a sweet trip. Well, if that doesn't get you out of the dumps, I don't know what will. Cindy D says, I love old Vincent Price film noirs from the 40s. Yeah, he did a great one. And I can't remember the name of it. And I've been trying to find it, and it's been driving me insane. Well, I'll find it sooner or later. Emily Miller says, fingers slip and cause you to stutter, Tom. Zuplik says, who actually sings in the rain, and what does that have to do with horror? Nothing, but it was also used in A Clockwork Orange, and that could be constituted as a horror film, also science fiction and dystopian. I just jumped again, so I'm going to have to go back and make sure I don't miss anything. Here we go. Mike Silva says Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, Zuper. Yes, they're both very, very scary people. Pat says Lost Boys and Killer Clowns from Outer Space filmed here in my... We're both filmed in your hometown? Oh, that's very cool. That'd make a great double feature. Tom Dirk says, loved Lost Boys. It's a really great film. I love that film. Mike Silva says, still watching Return of the Living Dead. It's a great film. Do the dead. Do the living dead, the living dead. All the dead insist it's the latest twist. Ken Wilkins says, I like the original Day the Earth Stood Still. Phenomenal movie. Gort, Klato, Barada, Nikto. Better than the awful remake, I'll give you that much. Oh, I think I'm almost caught up. Almost. A lot of people agreeing with something that I just missed, so I'm going to have to go back here. Yes. The Jaws movie, Mike Silva says, yeah, that's a great one. Tom Hungry Jerk says the guy from Clockwork Orange sang Singing in the Rain. He certainly did. Malcolm McDowell. John Doe says, what is the worst of the worst bad movies? Mine's Birdemic. Birdemic, I don't even think counts as a movie. It has like no production value whatsoever. But it's so I'm going to give you that one. Zuplik says, love Piranha 2, Mike. I think it was better than the original. Really? Those Myers says, Malcolm McDowell, yes. Tom Lermy says, Emily, Sometimes. I thought he was talking about the movie. Let's see what else we get going on here. Oh, people are saying bye, Pat. I'm guessing Pat has to leave us. Hey, Pat, thank you for stopping by. It's been real. I'm so glad you could make it. Lance Javen says, to get me out of the blues I'm in. Ooh, there's a song there. To get me out of the blues I'm in. Zublick says, they say The Room is so bad that it's just bad. I've only seen scenes from it. I have not seen the entire movie. Tom Longadrick says Piranha is on Pluto TV. Wasn't the original directed by John Sayles? I think John Sayles is great. Keith E in the house. Keith E, how you doing, bro? Keith E says, joke, there was a big jack-o'-lantern balloon in my house. The big hole in the side of it, so they fixed it with a pumpkin patch. A pumpkin patch on the jack-o'-lantern. To make it a dad joke, how do you fix a broken jack-o'-lantern? With a pumpkin patch. But a bump. Did I ever tell you guys about my friend who invented the abacus? Man, there was a guy you could always count on. Keith, so nice to have you in the house. Daryl Johnson says Pat has to cook for dinner. Yeah, that's right. It's dinner time there. I keep forgetting it's 3 hours later. Mike Silva says, what goes in hard? Uh-oh. No, Mike, I can't read that. That's a little tacky. Emily Miller says, Lance, have you tried adding yellow and being in the greens instead? Oh, I'm going to read that again. Emily asks, Lance, have you ever tried adding yellow and being in the greens instead? That's actually very, very cute. Braid Wooden says, have you ever seen the movie Gas with Donald Sutherland? It's horrendous. Not the one with Donald Sutherland. I saw one with Penny Marshall, a Roger Corman film about a poison gas which kills everybody on the planet over 18, and teenagers kind of run amok. It's pretty terrible, but I don't recall Donald Sutherland being in it. Mike Silva says, super okay. I was talking about the original 1978 movie. Lance Chavin says, I see what you did there. No, yeah, Lance, that was a good one. Emily Miller says, that's sad, Braidwood. Love Donald Sutherland. Mike Silva says, Kentucky Fried Movie 77, classic. I love that movie. Fistful of Yen is one of the best made spoofs of all time. Or parody spoof, whichever. Zublik says, what is the movie that Donald Sutherland did with Julie Christie that shocked audiences for its sex? Clute? But I thought that was Jane Fonda. Keith E says, why can't a skeleton do a stand-up do a stand-up comic? They have no guts. Very good. I think I used a version of that with my why did the blank cross the road bit. Why didn't the skeleton cross the road? No guts. John Doe says, where would you rate the movie Lost Highway? I tried to watch that movie twice and fell asleep. I don't know what it is. It's not a bad movie. It has a good cast. I don't know, for some reason that movie, I cannot warm up to that movie. It's just too. I don't know. I love Patricia Arquette. I love Bill Pullman. Robert Loggia was great in it. It just didn't click with me for some reason, and I have no explanation as to why. But if people like it, run with it. Emily Miller says teens run amok without gas. But this is sort of like a Lord of the Flies situation. Only it's global instead of an island. Braidwood says it's not the same Gas movie. I kind of figured, but that's the only one I know of. Mike Silva says Plan 9 from Outer Space. Lady Ice movie. We're talking about bad movies again, still, or your go-to bad movie. Uh, Lance Chavin says Amazon Women on the Moon. I like that one too. Zublik says no, it wasn't Clute. It was just a guess on my part. Sarita Abney says message retracted, and a message retracted to you. Lance Chavin says, Mike, there ain't no Thelma here. What about a Louise? Mike Silva says Tracy loved the Deep movie from the 70s with Louis Gossett Jr. Wasn't he in that movie? And Michael Caine? Or am I thinking of a different movie? Emily Miller says, I would rate most movies at home because that's where I watch them. Makes perfect sense. Zublik says, Lost Highway was cool. Did you see the short, What Did Jack Do? It's on Netflix. I have not seen it. Lance Chaffin said, Village of the Dolls. I haven't seen it, but it sounds good. John Doe says, don't do what Jack don't do. Don't do what Jack don't does. Good point. Cindy D says, Thelma Evans. Laugh out loud. So book says, what did Jack do? Was about a murderous monkey. Really? Wasn't that loosely based on a Stephen King story? Let's just see. Serena Ebony says Valley of the Dolls was good also. Tom Laramie says, I told this one before. Al Pacino told this one to Johnny Depp. A skeleton walks into a bar and tells the bartender for a beer and a mop. Yes, I did see that one. I've seen that one somewhere. Kenneth Wilkinson says, I like the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. We've talked about that on several occasions. So do I. Emily Miller says, I think Jack is high. Well, I can't rule it out. So the book says, the monkey talks and sings. Isn't that from New Zoo Review? The animals talk and sing. Mike Silva says the Deep was Jacqueline Bisset. Yeah, it was about the drugs in the Caribbean. They were left over from World War II or something. A ship sinks or something. Tom Jerk says Bernadette Stennis was hot. I'm guessing she was in the Deep. Haven't seen the movie in years. Braid Woodland says Jaws 4, where they fly a single engine plane from Martha's Vineyard to the Bahamas, is like a couple hours with 4 people inside. A plane in a couple hours with 4 people inside. Yeah, and the shark follows the plane, if I remember correctly. Tom Laramie says Little Shop of Horrors with Jack Nicholson. It sure does. Wilberforce. Lance Chafin says The Deep with Jacqueline Bisset and Nick Nolte. Thank you, it was Nick Nolte. Again, I haven't seen the movie in years. Emily Miller says, talk about monkeys reminds me of Monkey Shines. I can see that. Tom Laramie says, good times, Tom M. Cindy D says, she played Thelma Evans Thrash. Jacqueline Bisset. Tom says Emily Joe on the News Review was hot when I was 10. She was an attractive young lady, and she was married to Doug, at least at the time. Braidwood says we know why we like the hot spotlight. Mike Silva says hungry shark. Hungry shark. Zublik says a singing, talking monkey that kills Mike. Oh, it killed Mike? Oh, I'm so sorry. John Doe says a real mind twist. Pay attention to the name spoken on the intercom at the beginning and ending of Lost Highway. I'm going to do that. He always had such great little inflections and weird things in his movies. Mike Silva says Pawns, The Deep is on Tubi TV. Lance Chafin says, yep, Justin. Emily Miller says Zuplex, wasn't that the movie Monkey Shines? I think the movie was Monkey Shines and the short story was... There is a connection there. And I think I have it backwards. I think the movie was Monkey Shines and the short story was called something else. Monkey Shines was based on the short story that we were just talking about. and they may have done a remake with the original title. Lynn Chapin says Thelma from Good Times. Yes, we were just talking about Good Times, not just earlier tonight, but in other chats as well. And what was her last name? I can remember the actress. I can't remember her last name to save my life. Cindy, I'm sure you'll know. So Cindy D, please let me know. John Doe says, "What's your top 5 must-watch Halloween night?" Didn't we just cover that last week? Okay, I'm gonna go with that weird Scarecrow movie with Charles Durning, Night of the Scarecrow. I'm going to go with Night of the Living Dead. I'm going to go with something Vincent Pricey. You know what I'm gonna go with? I'm gonna go with Mask of the Red Death. I love that one, Mask of the Red Death with Vincent Price. I'm going to go with William Castle's The Haunted House. And for true classic horror, I'm going to go with number 5 will be White Zombie with Bela Lugosi. And that's unofficial, by the way. I could change it not only a later date, I could change it later on tonight. But for right now, those are my must watch for Halloween. Zublik says, "No, Emily, it has David Lynch interrogate." It does not have David Lynch interrogating a monkey. David Lynch is a director. He does not interrogate monkeys. Mike Silva says, "What is your favorite time travel movie, Pons?" Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good question. I'm gonna have to go with the first Terminator, but there's a lot fighting for that title. By the way, I'm gonna go with the first Terminator. Cindy D says Bernadette Stannis played Bernadette Stannis. I thought Bernadette Stannis was from another movie. Oh, the girl who played Thelma was in The Deep. How come I don't remember that? But anyway, Bernadette Stannis played Thelma Evans on The Good Times Thresh. You did a Good Times short for me. Oh yes, I remember. I didn't remember. Stannis wasn't ringing a bell, and we were talking about The Deep. So Bernadette Stannis was also in The Deep because people were mentioning her from The Deep, and I swear to God, I haven't seen The Deep in years. But thank you. Now everything just sort of clicked. You know, when I was watching Suspiria today, I've watched Suspiria before, but I literally had almost no recollection of it because I don't think I've seen it since I owned the film store. Well, I didn't own the film store; I managed a film store, but that was probably 20 years ago. I've watched so many movies that sometimes they'll just sort of blend. In fact, when I first went to watch Suspiria, I'm like, "Hey, wait a second, Jennifer Connelly isn't in this." I was confusing another Dario Argento movie that had Jennifer Connelly. So thank you for keeping me on the straight and narrow. Sometimes things just sort of blend with me. Liz Chapin says there's a movie called Link with Elizabeth Shue in 1986. Mike Silva says The World Without End. I do love that one. Also, the Back to the Future movies. Tom Laramie says Emmy, Joe, and Doug are married in real life. Chuck Woolery was in it too before hosting Wheel of Fortune. That's so cool. That's so cool. I knew he did some kid shows. I didn't know that was one of them. Trevor Rossmeyer says, I really like Joan Crawford in Berserk. Don't recall that movie, but I'll have to check it out. Mike Silva said, Tracy loved the Green Slime movie. How could you not? It had, who was that person? I can't think of their name, but that's a great person in it. Zublik says, I enjoyed Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. That's a good one. Serena Abney says, any thoughts about Christine the movie? It's a great movie. Movies with horror cars are always pretty good, generally pretty good. Mike Silva says, Killer Fish movie. Jaws. Cindy D says, I know about that thrash. I think we all do. I think we a lot of times wires in our memory cross. Tom Dirk says, I still love The Great Escape. It's one of my favorite war films. Mike Silva says, Killdozer, the car movies. I can see that. Braidwood in 5 horror movies would be The Others. I love The Others. It's a great one. Images 3. I don't recall that one. Burnt Offerings. Burnt Offerings scared me to death when I was a kid. It's possibly my favorite haunted house horror film. Just Haunted Houses, probably my favorite. Number 4, The Ring. That's a good one. And number 5, Psycho. Justin, that's an amazing list. That's an amazing list. Mike Silver, good list. Yes, it is. Emily Lewis says, I don't have a horror movie tradition. I just watch what gets my attention. That's always fun, too. Zuplik says, did you know Joan Bonet's star in Suspiria was involved in a love triangle which ended in an attempted murder? I saw something about that. And yes, Joan Bonet was in Suspiria. I did see something about that, but I didn't quite get all of it. But yeah, there was some shenanigans. John Doe says House of Clocks is a must watch. So we're clock watching now, huh? Emily Miller says the Tiny Bowl Man because one of the Tiny Bowl Man became one of our local meteorologists. He was in what was he in? He was in Caddyshack, I believe. Mike Silva says Captain Nemo and the Underwater City. I saw that when I was in the theater. My mom took me to that for my birthday when I was like 6 or 7. The book says no one remembers the Blair Witch Project. Of course, everybody remembers it. It just hasn't stood the test of time. Once the gimmick was revealed and everyone started doing found footage films, it became cliche, even though it was the original, the Alpha Patient, as it were. But no, it was still a great movie. Emily has never seen the Blair Witch Project, huh? Tom Longdrick says, I still love Phantasm. Scared the crap out of me when I first thought that would really scare me too. That would really, really scare. I think I was 12 or 13. I think my dad took me to see it. And yes, it certainly scared me. Trailer of Myers says Willard Scott was Ronald McDonald. He was the first Ronald McDonald, wasn't he? Braidwood says Ronald McDonald looked pretty evil in the early 80s. I don't know. My mom says I was scared of clowns when I was a kid. I don't recall, but I'm pretty sure. She wouldn't make that up. Emma Miller says, Mike, are there any actual witches in the movie? Mike Silva says The Yellow Submarine. Not a Halloween film, but I love The Yellow Submarine. A local station in my area used to show Yellow Submarine on Thanksgiving night. So we used to go to my grandmother's for Thanksgiving. And one of the traditions, over the river and through the wood, one of the traditions, we used to crash there. And after a great big meal and the tryptophan is kicking in, and we're all just sort of, I used to go into their room and watch Yellow Submarine to sort of cap off the night. They would show Help afterwards. I could never make it through Help. Not that it wasn't a good movie. I was just exhausted by that stage. But I loved Yellow Submarine. Linz Javen says Jennifer Connelly was a Night of the Creep. She certainly was. She was in a Dario Argento movie. Inferno? Daryl Johnson says, I wish I could forget it. I wanted to be the killer. Wow. Ellen Miller says, I like the Paranormal Activity movies. I think I saw the first one. I don't think I saw any after that. Mike Silva says, Lance, Labyrinth movie. That's when I had a crush on Jennifer Connelly. I got a crush on Jennifer Connelly when I saw her in the Labyrinth movie. Evan Miller says Jennifer Connelly was in Labyrinth too. She certainly was. I already had a crush on David Bowie. Jameen says hello everyone. A little late to the party. Jameen, do not worry. Again, I apologize. I had to start my show early tonight on account of I'm joining that fat samurai guy for his versus show tonight on Mario Bava's The Black Sabbath versus Suspiria by Dario Argento. So I need to wrap up a little before 9 tonight. So I started my show early, but I'm wicked glad you could make it. And again, if you haven't subscribed to Jameen, do so well after tonight's show. I just did a little jump thing. Don't worry, I'll get back to wherever I left off. Mike Silva says, welcome back, Waj. Welcome back. Zublick says, the only movie that frightened me was a horror flick but In Cold Blood with Robert Blake. I remember that one. That's based on the Thrill Killers, isn't it? Emily Miller says, I guess Mike and I are both Labyrinth fans. I am as well, by the way. Keith E actually brought up a great question last time. He just mentioned the first movie that you were afraid of as a kid and the first film that scared you as an adult. Beast from 6,000 Fathoms scared the heck out of me as a kid. That was one of those creature feature horror movies that I saw with my father. It was sort of the precursor to Jaws, where a guy's in the water and the thing swims up and grabs him from underneath. It's very, very scary if you're 4. But I don't recall ever getting scared of movies as an adult. By the time I became an adult, I was so jaded, horror didn't scare me. Cindy D says, what's your favorite noir movie, Thrash? I like Double Indemnity and a Vincent Price movie called Shock. I'm going to watch Shock just on your recommendation. Double Indemnity was great. I love that one too. The Dead End. The Dead End is my favorite noir film. Lance Chafin says Humanoids from the Deep. I love Humanoids from the Deep, even though Corman got a lot of flack for that. He was deliberately trying to make that film exploitative, and he got a certain amount of hot water for it. But I must confess, I did love Humanoids from the Deep. Tom Logan Jerk says the movie Magic was creepy. Yes, it was, but how should I put this? To me, they kind of gave away the movie about, well, not even halfway through. It's like you know from the get-go that the guy, let's just say, has issues. But it was a very good movie. Skipping down, John Doe in Cold Blood was a horror movie because it was based on something horrid. Yeah, the Thrill Killers. Just jumped again. Give me a second. Ken Wilkinson says, I like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Great movie. Emily Miller says Magic was pretty cool, but yeah, creepy. You know, it was creepy. Cindy D says my favorite film noir actress is Elizabeth Scott. I'm sure I've seen her and stuff. Can't place it, but I'm sure I've seen her. Trader Reminder says I love suspense movies. Zuplik says In Cold Blood was about something that could happen to you. That is what made it so frightening. Daryl Johnson says I was talking about the Blair Witch Project. It started out okay, but then turned into crap. And Melissa says Magic had an uncut version. I'm not familiar with that. I just remember the one they used to show it on HBO all the time. Bradwood says, speaking of David Bowie, he did a horrible movie in 1980 called Just a Gigolo. Not familiar with that one. Truth Meyer says, Roadbud, Citizen Kane, you gave away the ending. Keith E. says, The Fly, 1958. Help me, help me. Help me. Help me. Yeah. Zubik says, most memorable David Bowie film was The Man Who Fell to Earth. It certainly was. Emily Miller says, I have issues, but my dolls don't talk to me. Tom Laramie says, I know also in Cold Blood, John Forsythe from Dynasty and the voice of Charlie Townsend was in it too. It certainly was. Lance Chafin says, Talking Tina from Twilight Zone. John Doe says, the first Child's Play was the best. It certainly was. Daily Dan's good stuff. What is that buzz? Anyone else hear it, or is it just me? It's probably this microphone. I think my microphone is on its last legs. If it gets too irritating, let me know, and I'll switch mics. City D says, who's in the Dead End Thrash? I'll have to find it. Biggest name is Humphrey Bogart, but it's probably best known for being one of the first, if not the first film that had the Dead End kids in it. Leo Gorcey, Hunts Hall, they were like 12, 13 at the time. And it's not one of the Hell's Kitchen Bowery Boys movies where they're basically light comedies. They play these gritty street kids um, who form a gang, and they're actually very, very creepy in it. But yeah, Humphrey Bogart is in it as well, and I try to remember the year it came out. Um, Probably early 30s, but you have to watch it. It's an amazing film, and I don't want to tell you too much about it because I would have ruined it for you because some of the imagery in it is just outstanding. Mike Silva says, Lance, seriously, don't watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Why not? It's such a horrible, schlocky movie. Oh. Mike Silva says, The Dead End, good movie. Thank you. John Doe says, there was no Kane in Citizen Kane. Keithy says, 0. I just did the thumbs up. I think I was number 12, Saint Daryl, but Siri has her own mind. Mike Silva says, Invaders from Mars, the original, of course. Gary Carpenter in the house. I'm here, Thrash Pondo. Gary, so nice to see you. Yeah, we started a little late because I have to wrap up early tonight because I'm going to be joining that fat samurai guy. We're going to be discussing Black Sabbath versus Suspiria. Daryl Johnson says, no, they were not thrill killers. They went to rob the Clutter family. I thought it was Clutter family, and then ended up killing the entire family so not to have any witnesses. But they got a thrill out of it. That's the anyway. Lance Javin says all work and no play make Jack something. Trailer Meyer says Warriors come out to play. I was just talking about that one again the other night. Tom Drake says Louis on The Dead End Kids was Leo Gorcey's dad in real life. I knew that, actually. I knew that. Lance Javen says, can you dig it? Number one dude says, still on the clock, Thrash, but wanted to say hello. Hello. Number one dude in the house. It's always great to have you. Thank you so much. Great to see you here. This is the song that never ends. Gary Carpenter says, Sir Lancelot, my boy, how are you doing? Let's see. Daryl Jones says, it's a true story. The thrill killers, yeah. In cold blood. Mm-hmm. John Doe says, Angels with Dirty Faces, 1938. Phenomenal movie. Speaking of James Cagney. Mike Silva says, Holiday Road. Why am I not familiar with that one? What you mean says, be right back. We'll be right here. I keep hitting my backing. It's going to fall over sooner or later. Lance Jeffin says, Tracy, love that end fright in the bathroom. And fight in the bathroom. I'm not sure which movie we're talking about. But I'm sure it was a good fight. Emily Miller says, little girl who lives down the lane with Jodie Foster. I remember when I was like, 9 or 10, my babysitter wanted to watch that. And so she put it on, and I get to see it. And I was like, that was a very scary movie for a kid. Wasn't Martin Sheen the creep in that? I believe he was. Zublick says, I think Angel with Dirty Faces was a sequel to The Dead End. That sounds about right. That sounds about that. I think you might be right there. Gary Carpenter says James Cagney's best movie is Yankee Doodle Dandy. I just saw the bit where he does Off the Record. I was just watching that on YouTube the other day. Great stuff. Do you know that they wanted him to the voice of Blood in A Boy and His Dog? But at the end, they thought it would be off-putting. Tom the Hungry Jerk says it was wobbling ponds. The image or the sound? Either way, if perhaps it'll pass. Lance Chafin says, or Pretty Baby with Brooke Shields. I actually never got to see that when I was a kid, which is a pity 'cause that's all that the kids were talking about. It was on HBO. So all the like 12-year-old guys were getting to watch it, even though it was like way over their age bracket. Because you just watched it when your mom and dad weren't home. And we didn't have HBO. And I really felt like I was being deprived or depraved, either way. Uh, John Doe says Angel with Dirty Faces was the very first appearance of the Dead End Kids. So it wasn't the Dead End? I thought the Dead End was the first appearance. I will defer. I'm sure you're right. Gary Carpenter says Lance, it's Brooke. Yeah, Brooke Shields was in Pretty Baby. Tom says phone is almost dead. Thanks everybody. Hey, Tom, take care of yourself. We're going to be wrapping up ourselves here. Well, we're probably going to about another half hour or so. But we understand. Take care of yourself. And like I said, I'll give you a call over the weekend. Teresa Ramirez says, I was never scared of movies growing up, but it was the real life events of the Manson family scared the heck out of me. One of my earliest memories, my mom was finishing dinner. My dad had the news on, waiting for at least to like have dinner in the living room. My mom would bring it out on trays, and I was there with my father. And a news break about the Manson family killings came on, and my mother came like running into the living room saying, "Why are you letting him watch this?" I was probably about 3 at the time, and yeah, that was pretty messed up. Emily Moses says, "I don't mind sharks. I don't swim." We have a large amount of great whites up here on Cape Cod now, so let's just say that's an issue as well. So Luke says, "Dead End was the first." Okay, thank you. So, well, and if Angels with Dirty Faces was the sequel, that would have been the second film. A lot of people saying goodnight to Tom. Yes, definitely good night. Mike Silva says, charging my phone. Apparently, Mike has to go soon, too. Tom Lemry says, Helter Skelter Tracy. Yeah, that was the name of the attack. Oh, Mike Silva's almost done with Return of the Living Dead. Lance Jeffers says, Thrash, it's the Warriors fight. Oh, duh. The last big confrontation, the last big fight they have is in the men's room at the subway station with the guys who wear the coveralls and the striped shirts. Leader inexplicably is on roller skates. Yes, yes. And Mercy doesn't want to go in the men's room. She's like, I can't go in there. It's a men's room. And they're like, "What are you kidding me?" And they pull her in, and that is a great fight scene. That is a great fight scene. We were talking about so many movies. I got a little sidetracked. Thank you very much, Lance, for clearing that up. Which is funny because everyone says, "Oh no, there's a big fight confrontation at the end." No, no, there wasn't. That's the whole thing. He has like a pissing contest with Luther. Luther tries to shoot him and misses not only Swan but misses the guys who are standing immediately in back of Swan, which is never adequately explained, but it makes for a nice happy ending. And then the Riffs show up with they knocked off a sporting goods store on the way to the fight. They all have like hockey sticks and other sporting equipment, and we get a pretty good idea what they do to Luther. Oh, and what do you guys think? I have a post about this here on my channel. Check it out if you don't agree with me, but I have a theory. I have a theory that Luther is actually working for the cops the entire time the Warriors takes place. In fact, he was actually sent there to get rid of Cyrus as part of a undercover operation, an unsanctioned operation. But yeah, the crooked cops want Cyrus gone. The mob wants Cyrus gone. So they sent him in. It's sort of a Whitey Bulger, Officer Conley situation. I talk about it on my channel about the Warriors game-changing theory. But let me know, what do you guys think? Is it possible Luther is actually working for the cops? Emma Miller says, terrified of water like pools, lakes. I love the ocean, though. Oh, okay. The ocean is beautiful. I live right on the ocean. The ocean is beautiful. Warriors come out to play. I'm skipping down because while I was pontificating, I get behind, as always. Emily Miller says, Mike, I have a feeling we have a lot in common. Oh, that's nice. So D says, yes, it was Lance Chafin and Tracy. I was about 8. It was chilling. Mike Silva says, ending to Night of the Demons now. That is disturbing. Then one dude says Gans and Luther were both in 48 Hours. Well, they were also both made by Terrence Hill. And also, the guy who plays James Remar, and I can't think of his name to save my life, but James Remar. Ajax. Ajax is also in 48 Hours. Big Guys 45 says, I need to make a serious statement. I'm depressed because of the current state of where this country is falling down. That is a serious statement. That is a very serious statement. And while I avoid politics like it was plutonium, I just want to let you know that I think a lot of people in this country, on both sides of the political fence, are very disappointed in the state of our country. And hopefully that will improve in the not too distant future. Point recognized, and now moving on to our fun. John Doe says, is this the end of zombie Shakespeare? Is this the end of zombie Shakespeare? Acting. It says zombie Shakespeare. I was just reforming. Number one dude says Walter Hill. Did I say Terrence Hill? I'm always doing that. Terrence Hill was an actor. Yes, I meant Walter Hill. I'm so sorry, but I don't even remember doing it. But yes, I have done that before. I say Terrence Hill, but yes, he's an actor, not a director. Cindy D says, "Hi, big guys. Things will get better. Yes, they will." Emily Miller says, "More so 6 years ago." Yes, Emily Miller. Gary Carpenter says, I don't like The Night of the Living Dead or The Return. Really? Hey, it's a free country. I like them, but I can say a lot of people don't like zombie movies at all. Tom Lermy says, is the Luther you're talking about from Another 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte? Not another 40. Actually, I think Luther is only in the first one. I'm talking about Luther, Michael Patrick. But yeah, Luther is actually from. He's Luther in both movies. Actually, he's different Luthers. He's the head of the Rogues in the Warriors, and he's the little skeevy informant dude in 48 Hours. Keith E says, "Big guy, when you feel depressed, I look at your channel, and you've got some really great stuff." You know what? Thank you, Keith. Thank you for reminding me. Keith, Big Guys 45 has some great nostalgia stuff. I was watching his stuff today. He had one on bubblegum flavored soda from the 80s. What could be more 80s? And a Hubba Bubba specifically. And Gatorade gum, which I actually remember. I used to love Gatorade gum. So check out Big Guys 45 if you get a chance. Lance Chafin says, we need a Warriors remake. They've been talking about that for years. Big Guys 45 says, Now Living Dead was great. It's actually my favorite horror movie of all time. Mike Silva says, agreed, big guy. The 1968 version is the best. It certainly is. Lance Chafin says, I taught myself to swim. Excellent. Big Guys 45 says, anybody here watch Shaun of the Dead 2004, written and directed by the great Edgar Wright? I love Shaun of the Dead. Daryl Johnson says, David Patrick Kelly. Thank you. I knew there was a Patrick in there somewhere. David Patrick Kelly played Luther. Gary Carpenter says, I prefer werewolves, vampires, and monsters. Well, aren't zombies kind of monsters? But you mean like Frankenstein monsters. I love all those things too, by the way. Great stuff. Try the Vincent Price movie, Last Man on Earth. Big Guys 45 says, thanks, Rash. No, thank you, buddy. Hey, we're all in this together. We're a community. Ellen Miller says, I like witches, ghosts, and demons. I like their movies too. Daryl John says, please hit that like button. Lance Javen says, David Patrick Kelly was in Commando as so. Yes, he certainly was. The one who, remember, I was going to go last. I lied. Drop. Mike Silva says, it's a whole bunch of letters. Is it true that cannibals don't eat clowns because they taste funny? I think I get all the words in there. Yes, it is true, and that's a good dad joke. Gary Carpenter says, hey, the Zuplex, I thought Sean was really stupid. Gary Carpenter says, Frankenstein and the Bride. Number one dude, Sully, I let him go. Anybody else lagging? Like I said, we're having a really, really bad storm up here. There's electrical. I haven't got any thunder where I am, but I think there's some around us. That might have been what the problem with my mic is, and the lagging and glitching. So if any of you have experienced bad performance mechanically with the show, I apologize. Mike Silva says, fine, Emily. So apparently he's doing okay. Gerald Dunn says, oh, how about Robot Monster? What a classic. I actually like Robot Monster. It's so silly, though. Emily Miller says, something seems to be going on down the road. 2 fire trucks just went by. Ooh, maybe somebody hit a transformer in your area. Good luck. Lance Chapin says, new Coke, anyone? No thanks, I'm driving. There was a local comedy group here on Cape Cod years ago. In addition to improv, they would do music. They were probably best known. They did a song called "The Tourist Rap," which is people making fun of the people who come to Cape Cod for the summer. It actually got played on Dr. Demento, believe it or not. But they were actually sued by Coca-Cola because they did a song called "We Don't Need Another Cola," which was a Weird Al ripoff style of "We Don't Need Another Hero" from Beyond the Thunderdome. We don't need another cola. And Coca-Cola sued them, and they lost their shirt and had to break up. It's a pity because they were a great little local group. Of course, the funnest was a local radio station took the Coke theme and said, I'd like to take the taste of Coke and change it around a bit. Add 5 extra calories and make it taste like. And they were, of course, making fun of New Coke. So, which actually wasn't a bad beverage. You shouldn't have called it Coke. John Doe says Bedknobs and Broomsticks is a classic. Yes, and R.I.P. Miss Lansbury. Emily says, sigh. Oh, Wi-Fi is out. Damn it. Well, we appreciate you trying to stick it out with us. Dan says any Coke will do. The book says Robot Monster was great. Claudia Bennett, what more could you ask for? Emily says it just came back. The Wi-Fi, not the fire trucks. Good. Mike and Kathy in the house. Mike and Kathy, how you doing, Mike and Kathy? Pepsi guy here. Hey, so great to see you. We had to do a little bit early today, of course, because I'm doing the Fat Guy Samurai podcast in a little bit, but I'm glad you could make it. And believe it or not, we were talking about Halloween movies and shows. Emily says, I don't know anybody who lives in that direction, so I'm not worried. Superluke says, message retracted, and a message retracted to you too. Carrie Carpenter says, I prefer Sprite. What do you think about Sierra Mist? The mist of a distant fire, as it were. Claudia Barrett, I meant. I did wonder. Emily says, if I drink a soft drink, it's Sundrop. The Dollar General in my area has Sundrop. That's the one that has that, it's a grapefruit taste, isn't it? Or am I thinking about a different beverage altogether? Cindy D says, hated new Coke, Dr. Pepper here. Did you ever try putting grenadine in root beer? I think it's better than Dr. Pepper. Uh, Keith E says, I hear your alarm going off on your iPad. Oh, that's number one daughter. She's napping on the couch behind this screen. I don't have the heart to wake her, but apparently she's doing laundry tonight or something. I don't know what it is. You have very good ears, by the way. I've learned to block that out. I don't even notice that. Like I have a little like alarm chime that lets me know when my alarm system is operational. And every now and then it goes doot doot, and I don't even notice it. But I have company over, and when it goes doot doot, they go, "What's that?" I go, "Arr." But thank you for staying on top of things, Keith. Someday a guy will be coming behind me with a knife, and you'll be the one to let me know. That's irony for you, huh? Emily Miller says, I heard that too. No, I heard it was good, Gary. Mike Silva says, Bert Wilson, I thought you said if we destroyed the brain, it would die Frank. It worked in the movie, Bert Wilson. Well, it ain't working now. Frank, Freddie, you mean the movie Lied? How do we kill what's already dead? Shut up, boy. It's not a bad question, Bert. Lance Chavin says, what do you get when you cross a centipede with a parrot? You get a walkie-talkie, but a bump. No one told me what they thought of my theory that Ernie from Return of the Living Dead, sorry, that Ernie from Return of the Living Dead was a Nazi. I want people to weigh in. Yay, nay, I don't give anyway. John Doe says, Old Fudd Wabbit Slayer is a funny song. Did you ever hear the Four Horsemen, bite my tongue, the Four Postmen do their song Rabbit Valley? Speaking of Dr. Demento. Gary Carpenter says, I love the Sierra Mist of a Distant Fire. Mike and Kathy says, root beer float. Question, do you put chocolate syrup in your root beer floats? I put them in mine. Some people says, no, you don't. Emily says, no, Sundrop had orange juice and more caffeine than most soft drinks. I'm thinking of a different soda. Keith E says, no sound, no picture, crashed. Did I crash with everybody else too, by the way? Like I said, I'm experiencing electrical storms in my area, so keep me posted. Cindy D says, Coke had real cocaine in it in the early days. Since the name Thrash. Yeah, I knew that actually. My grandfather remembered when it had Coke in it. Mike Silva says Coca-Cola for me pawns, not Mac and me movie. Thanks for my parents. You're really on an anti-Mac and me kick. Emily says T-Pawns, you might be thinking of Fresca. No, I remember Fresca, but there was another soda that also seemed to have a grapefruit taste to it. Or Squirt. Yes, yes. That was it. Thank you, Emily. Thank you. It was Squirt, which is, believe it or not, still available in my Dollar General. And this is not a advertisement for Dollar General. And that time I heard it, Keith. Thank you. Mikey Kelly says no chocolate syrup. That's fine. You don't have to. But I assume you still stick with the vanilla ice cream then. Zuplik says no T-Pawns. Was that no on the chocolate syrup? Or no that Ernie was not a Nazi? Dilly Dan says nope, you're fine. Gary Carpenter says no chocolate in the root beer float. Daryl Johnson says I'm good to go. Mike Silva says no pawns. Mike Silva says it's just going to be heavy rain, pawns. Yeah, Mike, help me. I keep forgetting. You're from New England too, aren't you? Well, if you are, great. If you're not, that's fine as well. But yeah, New England is getting some pretty heavy rain right now. Gary Carpenter says I'm not fond of 7-Up. I haven't seen 7-Up in years. Well, actually, no, that's not correct. I think I saw it as part of a 4th of July display. No, I haven't had 7-Up in years. Zublik says there was a drink served at candy shops called egg cream. You could duplicate an egg cream with 7-Up and Bosco chocolate syrup. Sounds good. Someone told me people thought there was egg in it, but no, it was actually an egg cream. Get it? You have a grade A cream, but it was bastardized to egg cream. Mike Silva says, Pons, how would you feel if you were forced to watch a movie 12 times? Even if it wasn't I liked, I probably wouldn't have liked it. So, but I'm sorry if that sounded judgy. I've noticed that you've brought that up a couple of times this evening. Yes, I could certainly understand why you wouldn't like it. You saw it 12 times in 1 year, 91, huh? That is pretty excessive. Mike and Kathy says, has to be Shasta when I was a kid. Has to be Shasta. The only Shasta I could find in my area when I was a kid was Diet. Mike Silva said, from Pawtucket. Yeah, you see, I knew it was Rhode Island. So are you getting the rain too, by the way? Because it's coming up from the south, and you guys are south of me. Cindy says, Mr. Pibb, I love it too. It's hard to find. I haven't seen Mr. Pibb in years. Last time I saw Mr. Pibb was like in a movie theater or something. Mike Silva said, heavy rain is coming at 1 a.m. Oh, so this is even the heavy stuff we're getting. Emily says, I used to work at Bressler's where I learned how to make malted and ice cream sodas. Fun times. Does sound fun. Gary Garber says, I don't like eggnog. I don't like eggnog either. Zublik says, seltzer water and chocolate syrup was what was in egg cream. Gary Garber says, I don't like Dr. Pepper or cherry wine. Mike Silver says, yes, Pons. Ken Wilkins says, I live in Rhode Island. It's raining here. Well, yeah, that's what Mike was saying, Ken. You're from Rhode Island too. But apparently with the real heavy stuff isn't going to come in for a few hours. But I think that might be why I'm glitching. Are you guys getting any electrical bolts either, like thunder, lightning, that type of thing? Well, let me know. Emily Miller says Cherry One was started here in NC, North Carolina. Triple says phosphates, Tracy. Mike and Kathy says no rain in South Dakota, just cold. It's cold in South Dakota, huh? Yeah, we actually had drought conditions here on the Cape for like pretty much this summer, but we're making up for it this fall. But I'm sorry you're getting a drought in South Dakota there, bro, and Miss Mike and Kathy. Mike Silva says Kenneth, we're in Rhode Island. Les Chafin says try Walmart. I know if it's available in the continuous 48, it'll be at a Walmart. Gerald Johnson says in the Pacific Northwest, no rain, have a burn ban, and had to go remind some people of that. They had a fire pit going. People were using their fire pits all summer long, and we had a burn ban here too. They were also watering their lawn with hoses, which you aren't supposed to be doing, or sprinklers either. While we're on that matter, Keith each said, "I just rebooted. You're back by now." Oh, thank you. Good. Mike Silva says no Pawns. I forget what. I'm sorry, I forget what I asked. No thunder and lightning. Thank you. I'm sorry. I really need to qualify my own questions so I know when people answer me. Trailer Mike says I used to love vanilla Cokes. Yes, vanilla Cokes definitely. I used to have my own vanilla syrup, but they're never as good when you make them at home. At least that's the way I made them. Okay, so we're getting on to about 20 of 9. Should be wrapping this up now because I have to get ready to join Mr. Samurai Guy. As always, I want to thank you guys all for coming. It was an absolute blast. You guys really make these work. The fact that even when I get 20 people or so and we keep the conversation going this much, that's absolutely amazing. And I really appreciate when you guys drop by. Not sure what we're doing next week, again, because I have the BK podcast, but I will keep you posted. I'll probably do an after party. That's what I'm leaning towards for next week. There was one thing I wanted to mention here. where was it? I'm so sorry. Kenneth did answer. Mike said where he lived in Rhode Island, but I can't find it now. Oh, and Keithy wants me to say peas. Give peas a chance. That's my sign off. Don't worry, I will. I will. Well, anyway, but yes, uh, Mike, it's somewhere around this. I'm just not entirely sure where. So anyway, I just want to say thank you guys all again. It's been absolutely amazing. Be good, be safe, be careful. Looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. And oh, Gary Carpenter asks, "What am I doing for Halloween?" I'm doing something. Oh, I'm doing something for Halloween, but I haven't quite worked it out yet. I'll probably add some more ghost stories, but those are kind of tricky as we discussed because it's hard for me to regale with stories while I'm reading a comment section. But we will be doing something for Halloween, I promise. And Ken Wilkinson says he lives in Warwick. Ken, thank you so much for repeating that. I wanted to pass that on while we could. Emily Miller says, so when do we see you again, T Pawns? Next Thursday. Next Thursday, it'll be an after party. I'll probably post some non-live content between then and now, but you will definitely see me at some point next Thursday, October 20th. It'll probably be an after party, so call it somewhere around 10ish around then. And have a pleasant evening, everyone. And Gary Carpenter says, thanks to you, Thrasher. Thank you as well. Anyway, guys, again, be good, be safe, be careful. Looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. And of course, and as always, peace. Night, folks.